Hello and welcome back from top of the wall. My name is Spike. Guess what? I'm in a brand new format. Pauper. We're doing another Decktech. This one is extra spiky. Now this one is a special one that I'm calling Mr.Manhattan because it is blue, it's powerful, it's powerful, it gives you options, and it gives you a lot of push with a lot of strong creatures very early in the game. Now, did I say welcome back from top of the wall? I think I did. I'm gonna let it go. Let's get right into today's Decktech. Now, you may have noticed that Decktech is a little bit different from how it was before. Our new format, the way that I'm doing it, I'm kind of doing it more like Saffron Olive at MTG Goldfish. Not because like he does it better than me or anything. It's just like I'm uncomfortable in front of the camera, and I'm still working on like getting off like all the jitters, and I feel like it's just easier to record my voice. Now this deck is built from the ground up. It's built around two play sets of creatures, both 1-drops, 1 blue mana for 2 1/1s. One is Artificer's Assistant, a flying 1/1 bird, and it says whenever you cast a historic spell, or is it historic? Whatever, historic spell, which is artifacts, sagas, legendaries, planeswalkers. Planeswalkers are automatically legendary. You get to scry one. Now there's not a lot of sagas to choose from in Pauper or Planeswalkers or Legends, but you know what there is? There's plenty of artifacts. And if you haven't noticed, Voldekin Surtarch, or Cornstarch, Voldekin's Cornstarch, there it is a 1/1 that is pretty much an icy manipulator for 1 mana. He just tap target artifact, creature, or land. He is an icy manipulator if you have Metalcraft, and you don't even have to pay the mana to tap things with him. It's great. You can have him active on turn 2 when he's ready to tap anyway. Now we're gonna move into what supports these creatures and why they're built from the ground up. Let's start with a playset of Cogworkers Puzzle Knot and 2 Metal Spinners Puzzle Knot. The black and white puzzle knots, as far as color identity is concerned. They're both 2 mana. Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot enters the battlefield for 2 mana. You draw a card, you lose a life. In late game, you can sacrifice by paying 1 and paying a black, and then you get to draw another card. It's a 2-for-1 in the over the course of the game that earns you a little bit of mana, that draws you a card in a later game when you don't need it for the mana anymore, and you've already gotten the scry out of it from Artificer's Assistant. You can cash it in for a card and get something extra back out of it, which is pretty good, but it's not as good and not as aggressive as our Cogworkers Puzzle Knot. It enters battlefield for costs 2 mana, enters battlefield, make a 1/1 servo. That servo counts as an artifact, and as far as affinity is concerned, and as far as everything else in the game is concerned, that is an artifact, and that can be very forgiving for us on turn 2 when we maybe don't have a second artifact land to play to help us activate Metalcraft, but we can play a second land. We can get that second land drop down, we can tap up both of our lands, we can play this, and we can have Metalcraft on turn 2 and be ready to start icy manipulating lands down, keeping them off of land. And if we're on the play, just from their turn 2, they're just off a land, they're off a color, they're just constantly behind by 1 mana. It's almost as though they missed their first land drop, and every time that they stumble and miss another land drop, it's pretty much forcing them further and further behind in the game. And as you're gonna see in a second, we also build around him a little bit further ahead. You'll see in a second, both of these are built around our different kinds of artificers. Well, technically the bird's not an artificer, technically the Voldekin, I don't think he's an artificer, he's technically a wizard, but they have to do with artifacts, and they're magical, and they're blue. They might as well be honorary artificers. One has artificer in the name, the other has Metalcraft. It's right there. The next set of artifacts is 3 prophetic prisms, which can also help us earn a little bit of mana, as well as filtering, as well as scrying, drawing that card. It's almost as though we're getting our value back, and we're getting a little bit of extra more than actually what the card cost, which makes it amazing to play. And we have 3 Springleaf Drums, which help us convert those servos into mana, like additional mana, ramping us even farther ahead, getting us even closer to our bombs that I'll mention in a second. And then to polish everything off, we have 2 Aetherwork Spell Bombs for good interaction and for cycling in the late game when they're maybe not relevant, when maybe we find out that our opponent isn't playing a creature-heavy deck, they're maybe planning on something else, and perhaps they have like some kind of crazy mill win in plan or some kind of combo that we weren't expecting. So these do cycle out. They still give us the value, they still give us the mana, they still give us the scry, and we can get that card draw. Alright, so we have like 8 bombs in this deck. 4 Mirror Enforcer and 4 Gear Seeker Serpents. The Mirror Enforcer is a classic in Infinity, the Tumblr Affinity, I think it is right now that's being played. Tumblr Affinity, with ATOG and all that. And we like to play it in this deck too. We also can get it out on turn 3. Oh, and it feels good. Oh, it really does. But ours also has an Icy Manipulator to back it up. Just to help throw that in there, maybe some servos, whatever. I'm sure we have to maybe spend a mana for ours. And we also have Gear Seeker Serpent, which is the better bomb in our deck because it has an activated ability. It eats Gurmag Anglers, and it can have unblockable. Sorry, not unblockable anymore. Can't be blocked by creatures this turn. For 5 and a blue in the late game, that's actually very relevant. I'm gonna get us right now into our spells, you know, the instants and sorceries of the deck. We have the 1 Boomerang that bounces any permanent back to its owner's hand, and the 2 Hoodwinks, which, keep in mind, our deck is very, very hungry for blue, and sometimes we can't just always afford to play all the spells that we want and make sure we have all that blue mana left out for everything that we want to do. So we have to sometimes have the Hoodwink. Then we have 4 Metallic Rebukes. Because I mentioned that we can use our artifacts for mana, Improvise is part of that, just leaving 1 blue up and a Prophetic Prism, I always mess that up, and a Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot or a Servo, or even our Mirror Enforcer sometimes. We can leave that 1 blue up and those 2 artifacts, and it's far less likely that they know what we have. After of course, we've tapped out a couple of land, they may not have a choice but to run something out with the risk of us having a Metallic Rebuke open, available for it. Our 2 cantrips, the Taxium Probes, look at your opponent's hand, draw a card, classic in a lot of Eternal formats, banned in Modern, just really good. You can just pay 2 life or pay the blue, and in the late game, if we draw it, it's not so bad. We can see what our opponent's up to. In the early game, it's really good. It is really, really good, and we can determine sometimes which 1 drop we want to play, and that can help us affect the entirety of the game, because we may want to see which one we want to run into removal. Maybe we want to see, do we want to accelerate ourselves or put our opponent behind through mana disadvantage? Well, giving them mana disadvantage, giving us mana advantage. And then we have a 4th Thoughtcast. So it's affinity for artifacts, 1 blue, 4, and then you draw 2 cards. So a lot of times we are casting this for 1 blue mana, just draw 2 cards. Sick. Not quite an Ancestral Recall, but it's close enough as far as our opponent is concerned. 1 blue mana, all you need. Then for our lands, we have 6 islands, we have 3 Darksteel Citadels. I like to keep in the Darksteel Citadels, even though that they sort of end up mana destroying us a tiny bit sometimes. I prefer keeping them there, because we do have Springleaf Drum and Prophetic Prism to keep us in the game. I like having them there because it's a main deck way of fighting against a lot of boogeyman decks that like to blow up the lands. There's red brews, there's green brews, there's black brews of land destruction decks. And I like to play against those, and I like to have main deck ways of fighting off a lot of decks sometimes. And this is one of the ways to do it, along with some of our other artifacts that can filter through mana and can produce mana. Then we have 2 Ancient Dens, the white artifact land. Sorry, not technically white, but it produces white. It's the Plains artifact lands. And then there's the Vault of Whispers, the place where Geth is from, apparently. And 4 Seed of the Synod, because we are primarily a blue deck, we want 4 of these. And we're not too worried about having mana available from our lands to activate the abilities of our puzzle knots. We do have the filters from Prophetic Prism and Spring the Drum again at 17 land for us. Let's get into sideboard. We have 2 Resourceful Returns, which is just a 2 mana 2-for-1. It says we can return a creature card from our graveyard to our hand, and if we control an artifact, we get to draw a card. It's a 2-for-1. We get back a bomb, and we get back a card, or we can get back a pesky creature or something of value to us, and we get to draw a card. If we control an artifact, I wonder how many we have in here. 29? 29 was it? It was 29. We have 29 artifacts in here. Oh god, a 2-for-1. So for those longer games, this can help get us right back into it in case we're feeling as though games are going to go a little bit longer and we need maybe to catch back up to our opponent or have some method of getting back cards that they're planning to blow up very frequently. Then we have 2 Dispels to fight against removal heavy decks. Decks that like Doomblades, that have a healthy amount of counter spells, that have healthy amounts of things that we don't like. And speaking of things that people don't like, we have an Akuru stealth suit, which is like cranial plating, but it's the blue color identity version of it that gives Shroud at instant speed. You can whip it around across your creatures to fight against those Doomblades, to fight against a lot of targeted removal. And on our big creatures, when you have a 5/6 that is basically one of the biggest things in the format that can be unblockable and has Shroud, and your opponent doesn't know how to deal with it, there's no targeted removal for it, they can't Evancar's Justice enough, they have to take an entire turn trying to use Pestilence while we're continually trying to tap down their land or return land to their hand. That may be all the way at turn like 6 or 7 for them to actually get it down on the battlefield. We don't mind, because they may already be dead. Then we have 2 Boomerangs to further mana screw our opponent, of course, and a little bit more interaction, a little bit more tempo gain against our opponents, a little bit pushing them behind. Then we have 2 Executioner's Capsules. It is 1 black mana for an artifact. You pay Doomblade, and you get a Doomblade out of it. Value in the early game, value in the late game, when we can cash it in when we need it. We also have 2 Dispeller's Capsules, which is 1 white, or get an artifact, pay 2 and a white. You can destroy target artifact or enchantment, tap, sacrifice it, the whole thing. It's just like Executioner Spellbomb. It's the white version of it from Esper. And then to hit further on enchantments, we have Aura Flux, which is 2 and a blue, and other enchantments gain at the beginning of each upkeep. Pay 2 or sacrifice this enchantment. It hates really well on Boggles and really well against white heroic stuff, and it just was so good against auras. I love it to pieces. You can use it against Green Stompy, making their opponent more miserable. Like, you're behind in mana, pay additional cost, basically skip your untap step. Perfect. I love it. I love everything about it. Then we have Nihil Spellbomb. I think I pronounced that right. If not, get triggered. 1 mana artifact, tap it, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Pay 1 black. When it's put into a graveyard, draw a card. We have 2 of these. Alright, so that's it for this week's Decktech. Just sounded like Saffron Elf. Next week, we're going to be trying what I'm thinking is going to be a Rakdos Madness discard kind of deck. It's going to have a toolboxy kind of feel to it, which I love in decks. I love playing those kind of decks, and I love building those kind of decks. It's so much fun seeing all the options that you can have and all the different play styles that you can make. So join us next week. Come on in for that base touch.